Let's go live to the Nationals' Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. Thanks for your time as always. We had the Prime Minister on today. He says the coalition's not putting out the costings because the numbers don't stack up on the nuclear plan. What's your response?
Oh, well, this guy is all over the shop. He's calling it a fantasy. Well, I think it's fantastic. I think he also said this morning something about seven dwarves. I tell you, when you've got the PM's grumpy, you've got Doc Chalmers, you've got Bowen, who's definitely dopey, but all of them are very, very bashful this morning because they know if you're actually serious about addressing climate change, if you're actually serious about getting emissions down without sending jobs offshore and deindustrialising our economy, then nuclear has to be part of the mix, just like it is in 20 developed countries at the moment, with 50 more around the world looking to get it on board. So we know that this is a plan not just for the next election, but for this century for our nation to keep us safe, sovereign and prosperous. And we're prepared to argue the case, Kieran.
Would it have nullified a bit of the scare campaign if the dollars were out there, if the amount of energy to be generated was released? A bit more of the detail.
Well, we've been really, really clear that we are going to be releasing costings. We've been doing a lot of work on this. We've been looking at best practice overseas. We've made it clear this week where those sites are. So Labor can't run the scare campaign that they want to run. Australians are a sophisticated bunch. They look overseas. They understand that France, the UK, the US, all comparable countries are using this technology as we head to a decarbonised economy. And given our uranium reserves and that we've had a reactor sitting in the suburbs of Sydney for nigh on 60 years and we're going to have our submariners sleeping in nuclear-powered submarines, this is a technology whose time has come here in Australia. When you come to the cost, let's even just take the CSIRO's cost from their Gen Cost report, $8.5 billion in a $1.2 trillion transition, and remember that's just to 2030, that $1.2 trillion, is 0.57%. You take it up to the $17 billion, the top of the range of that the CSIRO costed it out at, and that's only, I think, 1.4% of that cost to 2030. Given the likely cost that's been calculated, I think it was by Melbourne Uni, to 2060 is in the $7 to $9 trillion. This is a drop in the ocean to secure our future and secure a low emissions future for all and the globe.
You said you will release the costings. Will that be before the election?
Well, Kieran, I'm not going to be drawn today in going into the costings. I've just outlined for you the data that is available, reporting, comparing the CSIRO costings that they released a couple of weeks ago and comparing that to the expected cost of transition to get baseload net zero emission power being generated by 2035, 2037 as a drop in the ocean of the actual cost of transition, I think shows you this is absolutely going to have a beneficial cost. The PM is running around saying this is going to make energy bills higher and give concerns to reliability of energy supplies. That's his scare campaign. What a joke. Right, cooey PM, Australia's already paying some of the highest energy prices in the world. That is why right now, under his plan, and we know that renewable rollout is having huge concerns given that 90% of our baseload power is going to be offline in the next decade and renewables aren't going to be there to fix it. So the scare campaign he's running is actually the reality that we're living under his plan. And that's like the facts. I just can't be clearer. So I guess what we're keen on doing is having the conversation in our communities, with the Australian public, and this is what leadership looks like. It looks like, fighting for something that's going to be in our nation's best interest, not just at the next election, but for this century.
National Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie, I appreciate it as always. We'll see you next week.
See you, mate.